thank you for your time, and let's get started. So today we're going to talk about cloud computing and how it can really cut your upfront IT costs by half or more, provide automatic disaster recovery, and free you to work from anywhere and any device, especially with what we've gone through over the last couple of years. It's very important to start considering how to make your network flexible, how to allow your employees to work from anywhere at any time, the same exact way you work in the office. Give them full functionality, and cloud computing truly helps us get there. But let's talk about it. I'm going to take it step back a little bit and take it down to the basics. So on October 30th in 2005, one of the world's wealthiest tech billionaires wrote an urgent memo to his top engineers and most trusted management team. And he told them, there's a new technology that we really have to pay attention to. Meanwhile, along the banks of the Columbia River, a mysterious company, which was known as Design LLC, was secretly constructing two massive 35,000 square foot windowless warehouse on top of a fiber optic network codenamed Project 2. All that happened in the early 2000s. That's why the cloud revolution came. So looming like an information age nuclear plant, that's what the Herald Tribune said about what they were doing. And what they were building is a cloud infrastructure. So who are we talking about? We're talking about Microsoft and Google. These two major companies spent all their money and their resources in building out their cloud infrastructure. I mean, look at what Microsoft has been doing with Microsoft 365 and all the capability that cloud system has allowed for businesses. And well, what Google's been doing is the same, what Microsoft, a competitive landscape, if you will. So what are we talking about? Obviously, we're talking about cloud computing in general. So these companies have seen the light back in the day and started creating their applications to work in an environment that's easier to reach, it's easier to work on, and it's through a browser. So that's why Microsoft Word, Excel, and everything is now, especially the M365 products, are driven through a browser. So the cloud. Let's talk about the cloud a little bit and what it is. So this is what we're going to cover today. What is the cloud exactly? I mean, it's such a mysterious place. How does it work, and where is your data kept? How secure is the cloud, and what can be done to protect your information from hackers and cyber attacks? And how can a cloud infrastructure improve your business and streamline your business process? We're going to talk about the cloud and how you could use it to be more nimble, faster, more flexible, and allow your employees to get all the data that they need the fastest. We truly believe that the fastest company that respond, the company that can get the data quicker, the company that is technologically advanced is going to win at the end of the day, because people want simplicity. People want to do everything from their mobile device. They want to be able to travel everywhere, but still do the things that they were tethered to a desk on to work from anywhere. So let's do this. If you guys are ready. So what is the cloud? So what if I told you that the cloud is just someone else's computer? What if I told you that really the cloud is the infrastructure and the technology that you may have hosted locally, packaged differently, put in a data center that is highly available? In other words, there's no single point of failure. There's two firewalls, there's two switches, there's a multitude of servers backing each other up with the right cooling. What if I told you that the cloud is just that same type of technology, just hosted somewhere better than in your server room, which is usually a closet that's also used as storage and other things? Not the right cooling and no redundancy except for just backup. And that's where the cloud, the beauty of the cloud is. So what is cloud computing and why you should care? So the web and cloud computing is to storing and processing data, what the electrical grid and electrical company is to plug it in your coffee maker. A more convenient, more reliable, less expensive way to access the computing power and resources you need to run the tools and the applications you need for your business or personal. So what does that all mean? It means that if you think of how a long time ago, electricity used to be delivered. In 1851, in a field besides ironworks, not too far away from us in upstate New York, Henry Burden built the largest and most powerful industrial water wheel in the world. So a top speed of 600 feet, 200-ton behemoth could produce 500 horsepower that generated enough electricity to power the tools in his factory. So this is what people used to do, right? They used to produce their own power, either have a generator in the back, have a well, have a windmill. They would generate their own power. It wasn't efficient. It wasn't always working. They didn't have batteries back then to store power and then have it available for you anytime. So, but that was the norm, and not everybody had electricity, right? But technology kind of advanced. So by the early year of the 20th century, 50 years later, if you will, the one world-class cutting-edge technology was abandoned, rusting in the field, and overgrown grass all over it. This Burden wheel was no longer used when it was used all the time, because what happened is that the power company came and the power grid came and they said, hey, listen, we could produce a lot more power, cleaner power, better power, and deliver it to you at a fraction of the cost it would cost you to build that big wheel to produce power. And then really at the end of the day, you would just be paying a lease fee or a rental fee or a charge every month just to use the electricity. And you only pay for the electricity you used. You saved money, you got it on demand, it was always clean. And as you know, fast forward a few years later, everybody jumped on that grid. We all do that now. So the same technological revolution is happening today in cloud computing. So the application users spend the majority of their time on are now accessible through a web browser. Internet connectivity is exploding everywhere, and the pricing of internet is a lot less. So even if you want to get two separate internet access and one for redundancy to the other one, it's still a lot less money than it used to be. And it's all driven by mobile Wi-Fi demand, obviously. Devices are multiplying and getting cheaper, and practically all new software applications are now delivered exclusively through a SaaS model, a software as a service model. Most software developers are now writing their applications to work better in a cloud computing environment. What I mean by that is you're able to use it through a browser, so you can go anywhere and use it that way. Well, question I get all the time is, what if my application is older and they don't make another application and I don't want to learn another tool? And well, then am I stuck? I can't take that to the cloud. Well, technology has evolved, and I'm going to show you different ways to do that. But that's the beauty of it. So the big tech drivers here, which obviously Google, Microsoft, and Apple, are investing billions to deliver cloud services and application, which will drive quality, innovation, and speed. Most of the Microsoft ecosystem is being built for the cloud, Apple as well, and Google, and they're driving everybody else and forcing everybody to get there. But let's face it, it's because we have the need. The users like us, the companies, the users, their employees, have the need to work from anywhere at any time, have the need to reach their data quickly, and have the need to truly be flexible. So in fact, you're already using the cloud computing. Google search engine is in the cloud, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Constant Contact, Aweber, and all the other email broadcasting services, Microsoft 365, Gmail or G Suite with Hotmail and free email services. Online banking is through the cloud. SurveyMonkey and Zoomerang and every ATM and credit card machine you've ever used is connected to the cloud. So the cloud is everywhere. We can't get away from it. But certain companies have certain criterias and certain compliance they have to adhere to, and certain older applications, they may not be aware that they can actually take that to the cloud. So this is what your cloud should look like, right? A data center that's highly powered, that has redundant power, generator backup, the correct cooling. If one thing fails, the other one takes over. The highly available infrastructure with no single point of failure across the board. That's what a cloud should look like. So whoever you're working with, if they say, oh, we're going to put it in the cloud, well, which cloud is it? Whose cloud is it? And how good is their cloud? Is it SOC compliant? Is it capable? Make sure it doesn't look like this, where it's a mess and it's not compliant. And really, it's just somebody else's machine truly connected to a subpar internet connection with no redundancy. So that's where we came in. We built our own infrastructure. We built our own cloud. And that's why we're doing this webinar. And I can tell you that not all clouds are created equal. And that MVP, and that's why usually the pictures of the clouds are, well, blue skies and white clouds, but you know, clouds could be a storm. So be careful which cloud you go into. So, and which cloud is best for you. So I'm talking about which cloud. Is there different clouds? Well, yes, it depends on where you are, but really what we're talking about here, that it could be in a public cloud, a private cloud, or a hybrid cloud. Let me tell you the differences here. A public cloud is then when you lease computing power and space on somebody's cloud, but it's in a public server farm. In other words, you're not the only one on it. There's multitude of other companies and they're sharing the same hardware you're on. It's secured and it's capable, but it has its limitations. A private cloud is basically that entire infrastructure and the hardware that you're on is dedicated to you. Nobody else is on it. You have all the resources that comes along with it. It's expandable as you need it, but nobody else is using that hardware that you're on. And a hybrid cloud, well, it's a little mixture of on-prem in your environments, maybe a server or two for specific things, a private cloud, and maybe even a couple applications in a public cloud, like Microsoft is a public cloud, right? Google is a public cloud. You're using public cloud no matter what you do, but this is how it could all be broken up. So that's one piece, is moving your stuff to those computing power. But how secure is the cloud computing? Well, I can tell you this, that a breach is pretty much inevitable for everybody. Whether you are on the cloud or running your own servers, the FBI told us that you will be breached at some point, because everybody is getting attacked, especially with what we're going through in this world of ours, with Russia and China really attacking the West. So cloud security, though, just because you're in the cloud doesn't mean you're just fully secured, right? Like I said, you're in somebody else's data center. What are they hosting? How are they hosting it? What you got going on? Security is on you. So cloud integration between different application, potential risks that may happen, encryption on your cloud data, all these are just above and beyond what traditional or basic cloud computing is. I gotta tell you all this because if you're gonna go in a cloud, these are questions you have to ask to make sure that you're gonna be protected. Do they have backup and disaster recovery? For instance, Microsoft M365 have redundancy, but they do not back up your data, even though you store it with them. And they tell you that. Obviously, you clicked I agree in that long list that came up. You didn't read it all, but since we have, I tell you that they don't back up your data, and they recommend you have a separate data backup solution altogether. Obviously, they sell their own, and they also, other providers have their own backup for Microsoft and Google, but backup and disaster recovery is on you. Accessibility of resources and being able to reach it from anywhere. Bandwidth requirements. Do you have enough bandwidth at your office or at your home to be fully cloud capable? How big are your files that you use? What kind of application do you have? What age of the application? Can it work in a cloud environment properly? So how is all that? So let's bring it on. So how do you know if you're ready for the cloud? So MVP CloudWorks model, we built a model that enables businesses to get out of the game of computer limbo. Every 5 years you replace a server and keep on top of your maintenance and updates and what have you, and allow them to really focus on what differentiate them from competitors in an industry. If your company is fully cloud capable, you're able to work the same way you work at the office, the same way you go home, the same way you're on a trip or you're at Starbucks, wherever it may be. You get internet connectivity and you're able to work the same exact way securely. That's the utopia of IT, if you will, because then you're able to have employees all over the world. You're able to have capabilities to, if we have to be carted home and not come back to the office and be able to work from home without skipping a beat. And we're talking phones and any technology that you use cannot be cloud enabled. So from a high level analysis, questions to ask is, how does the company use technology now? And what sort of integration is required between those different applications? Can they work together in different environments? External and internal sources of data are coming in other words, are you using, besides email, do you have an ERP system are you using QuickBooks? And not only QuickBooks in the cloud because they have that offering, but if anybody have ever used it, it's completely different than their regular QuickBooks, and it's not as good and doesn't have all the features. So people don't want to go that way. So does that mean you have to have your own server to maintain for just one application? Well, no, you could put it in the cloud. Network topology versus company topology. How is your network laid out? And how many locations do you have? Or do you have a lot of people that work remote? All these questions have to be analyzed to know if cloud will work for you, how well it will work for you, and how it needs to be built. Does it have to be, could it be all in a private cloud? Could it be hybrid, something internal and something external? How could it be designed so to be delivered properly, including remote access requirements, data sharing requirements? You want to share data not only with your employees, but with your partners or your vendors. And there's a bunch of other questions I didn't have in there, but these are questions that need to be asked. A cloud readiness assessment needs to be done so that we know what can happen and how it could happen, and then show you how it works. This is Robert Herjavec. He owns an IT, he's part of the Shark Tank. I'm sure you guys, he looks familiar, but he also owns a security IT company up in Toronto that I went to visit and had a few meetings with him. And we talked about the cloud and its capability and its security. And I wanted to do a demo for you guys to show you what it would look like if we came in and took you to the cloud. Number one is we want to eliminate VPNs altogether. So if you're working remotely and you connect to a VPN first, then you connect to a terminal server, what have you, or a machine at the office, well, we don't want that to keep happening, right? What we want to do is to make sure that we reduce the amount of steps you have to take, make it flexible. So let me do that, get out of my presentation real quick. And I'm going to take us to my demo environment. So if you're in the cloud, and this is a demo environment that you could see, we'll take you to a web page. And once you're on that web page, let's say you use QuickBooks, you use other applications, and right now I'm on my local computer, obviously, and then I'm just going to log in remotely to my cloud environment. So I have a demo cloud environment I'm going to log into, and I'm going to show you guys this. So let me put in my password. Once I do that, it logged me in right away into my environment. And these are the application I want to use remotely through a browser. I can be on my mobile device, on my iPad. It doesn't matter what end device you're using, because now we moved you to the cloud and everything is accessible via a browser. So this is regular QuickBooks Premier Professional, not the online version, right? This is regular Outlook, not the web version. This is a full desktop I can log into, right? This is my S drive, which is the same S drive I have mapped on my local machine. So if I click on QuickBooks, for instance, you'll see what it's going to do. And I'm going to show you the detail, if you will. I'm going to say, yeah, connect me to this. The first thing it's going to do is say, hey, wait a minute. Let's make sure it's still you. So enter another password for me one more time. So I do that. Then it starts configuring a terminal session that's dedicated to the cloud. It's going to log me in and prepare my windows, but all I wanted to do is use QuickBooks. So because of cloud technology, as it prepares windows, only QuickBooks will open up and it will look like I'm connected to it directly. And once I'm in, everything will start working the way that it is. Right now it's doing all the things that it needs to do at first. But now that it's completed it, you see, it looks like QuickBooks is opening, but really it's a terminal session opening QuickBooks. But only QuickBooks is here. It wants me to do updates. close QuickBooks. In this case, I'll close it and it will do updates in the back end and will let me back in. But we could use other applications as well. What if I wanted to use and log into the entire desktop? Now I want to see everything that I have in my cloud environment. I want to have my desktop in the cloud. I don't even want to use my local desktop anymore. And these are some of the things that we do during the process of asking you what's happening and how it's happening and how you use your technology, how you use your applications. And we go through that process. And once we're in there, I'm logged in. And now that I'm logged in, I have a full desktop in the cloud. I can reach it from anywhere at any time. I can either reach the application individually, I can log into the desktop and use the applications. The same application that I just clicked on out there for QuickBooks can also be accessible here. And that's the beauty of the cloud if it's done right. You're accessing it from any device, even your phone, iPad, at any time. You're using it efficiently, and at the end of the day, what you're doing here, and this is a demo environment, so bear with me while everything updates, but at the end of the day is that you're eliminating all the servers from internally in your environment. You're eliminating all the cost that it costs to actually get your server there and to build out what the server looks like. And I'm going to open this application now. You see how it's working. It's working as if I'm on my local machine, even though none of this information is there. And that's the beauty of it overall, is that we have to do our due diligence first, but once we're there, and once everything is working and we actually put you in the cloud, you save your data in your cloud, you reach it from anywhere at any time, you're flexible, you share with internal and external people, and then your phone can be another application on those desktops anyways. And then you could go anywhere, work from anywhere, and do anything that you want, and things will start working for you a lot faster, a lot more efficient, and a lot, sorry, I got a message, and a lot quicker. So, and most importantly, secured. But there's level of security, there's level of backup, even in the cloud. Yes, this is still your environment that you're renting, leasing. You're not spending a lot of money and you're saving across the board. Remember the big wheel, you're no longer producing your own power, like buying your own server and what have you. You're just leasing computing resources, and you're in an environment that's SOC compliant, that's redundant, with no single point of failure, with a tech that sits next to them that monitor everything that's happening and give you flexibility and connectivity from anywhere. So having said all that, let me go back to my presentation. So to preparing for the future, step one, we got to do a cloud readiness assessment. So how are you using technology today? What are some of the gaps in your technology and business needs? What local application and third-party cloud apps are you using? What level of business continuity and backup does your business need? How does data flow between applications? How are you sharing data? How are you storing data? How are you using your technology? We have to understand all that to build a good cloud for you. And then we create an action plan. So based on what we discovered and what you've answered and what scans we've done, we'll provide you with a plan on what makes sense to move to the cloud and what it will take to perform that move. And then after that, it's about getting you there and then doing ongoing management and quarterly strategy sessions, because you definitely don't want to set it and forget it. It's still a cloud, but it's still equipment and your data in it. So it's on a regularly scheduled maintenance, kind of like replacing the oil in your car. So it's not setting and forget it approach to your overall IT and cloud strategy. The world is evolving quickly and your business needs to adapt to these changes. So how are we going to get you there? So the first step is free. We're doing that for everybody that joined. As an attendee of our webinar today, you can receive at no cost application the cloud readiness assessment, where we'll come to your office and we'll review how your business currently uses technology. We'll perform a 95-point network and security assessment. We'll provide you with a detailed report and an action plan on how we can take you there and what that your monthly investment for the cloud would be. So having said all that, I'll take you back to a cheerful cloud, but if you guys have any questions, let me see if I have any questions there. And after questions, if you're interested, please call Jamie or Ikram Jr. at 630-1701. So bear with me and let me look at the questions. Okay, I have one question that came in. How can we use applications that are not designed for the cloud in the cloud? Well, it all depends. If the application can work on a terminal server session, then it could work in the cloud. Then we wrap terminal services, the traditional ones that you're used to, into an RD web where it's accessible through a browser, and then we wrap your application that way. And does it cost any more? It does not. It all depends. It all depends on the amount of computing you're going to need. So think of it this way. So if you have QuickBooks, you want to put that in the cloud, and you want to put another application. Well, QuickBooks required, and you have 5 people that uses QuickBooks at the same time all the time. So it requires maybe 4 gigs of RAM per user to use it. So this is how much computing resources you'd be getting, and this is what we would do, the math, to let you know what you need in the cloud to make sure it's available and backed up. But when you use the computer resources is when you pay for it. And when you don't pay for it. So it saves you time and money, especially if you have to buy new servers or new equipment, but it also allows you to have the flexibility to work from anywhere the same exact way. Okay. Well, having said that, I welcome you to reach out to us. We'll be recording this. We've recorded this webinar. We'll have it available for everybody that joined. I appreciate your time. I hope you found it beneficial. This is our quick 30-minute webinar, and I hope you guys had a good time. And I'll mute everybody, but without further ado, I'll be around if you guys have any additional questions. If not, we'll end on time. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day, everybody.